Somewhat strangely, perhaps, for a radio phone-in programme, I thought I'd begin by reading you a couple of letters. One was written to a chap called Stanley Johnson, you may have heard of him, and one, of course, was written to you by a chap called Boris Johnson. We'll begin with that one, which dates from the end of March. I am writing to you to update you on the steps we are taking to combat coronavirus. In just a few short weeks, everyday life in this country has changed dramatically. We all feel the profound impact of coronavirus, not just on ourselves, but on our loved ones and our communities. I understand completely the difficulties this disruption has caused to your lives, businesses and jobs, but the action we have taken is absolutely necessary for one very simple reason. If too many people become seriously unwell at one time, the NHS will be unable to cope. This will cost lives. We must slow the spread of the disease and reduce the number of people needing hospital treatment in order to save as many lives as possible. That is why we are giving you one simple instruction. You must stay at home. You should not meet friends or relatives who do not live in your home. You may only leave your home for very limited purposes, such as buying food and medicine, exercising once a day and seeking medical attention. You can travel to and from work, but should work from home if you can. A letter from Boris Johnson to you. This is a letter from Martin Hammond, the Master in College at Eton, to Stanley Johnson, dated the 10th of April 1982. Stanley Johnson, in the unlikely event that you haven't heard of him, is the father of the current Prime Minister. And this is what his master had to say. Boris really has adopted a disgracefully cavalier attitude to his classical studies. It is a question of priorities, which most of his colleagues have no difficulty in sorting out. Boris sometimes seems affronted when criticised for what amounts to a gross failure of responsibility, and surprised at the same time that he was not appointed captain of the school for next half. I think he honestly believes that it is churlish of us not to regard him as an exception, one who should be free of the network of obligation which binds everyone else. Listen again to that final line. I think he honestly believes that it is churlish of us not to regard him as an exception, one who should be free of the network of obligation which binds everyone else. Back to the letter that Boris Johnson wrote to you at the end of March. That is why we are giving you one simple instruction. You must stay at home. You should not meet friends or relatives who do not live in your home. You may only leave your home for very limited purposes, such as buying food and medicine, exercising once a day, and seeking medical attention. You can travel to and from work, but should work from home if you can. Back to 1982. I think he honestly believes that it is churlish of us not to regard him as an exception, one who should be free of the network of obligation which binds everyone else. And then, last night, the Prime Minister of this country made a fool of every single human being who did what he asked of us. He made a mug of every mother, every father, every daughter, every son, every brother, every sister, every nurse, every doctor, every teacher, every paramedic who have done their level best in incredibly trying circumstances to pull together, to prioritise the national interest over personal inconvenience and even misery. Boris Johnson stood before you and before me last night and demonstrated categorically that he still believes that it is churlish of us not to regard him as an exception, one who should be free of the network of obligation which binds everyone else. So where do we go from here? You will know that Boris Johnson has successfully misled Not just, of course, the British electorate, but various employers, party leaders, colleagues and constituents throughout his entire life and career. I have, in recent weeks, almost given up reminding you about the man's track record, almost given up reminding you about the catalogue, the cavalcade of calumnies and corrupt conduct that typifies every single element of this individual. And today, you might have expected me to be engaging in an almighty I told you so, after my friend Majid Nawaz very, very graciously allowed me to step back into the seat today when I was due to be on holiday. You might have thought I was coming here to, I don't know, sound the trumpets of self-congratulation. I'm not. I'm sick to my stomach that at a time of unprecedented national and international danger, the leopard has still not seen fit to change his spots. And now we come to Dominic Cummings, about whom I know very little. I am familiar with his responsibility for steering the Vote Leave campaign to victory. Contingent, of course, he believes, upon that massive lie about the NHS that was put upon the side of the bus. But that battle is over. Brexit is done and dusted. It is finished. I mean, the detail is still to be thrashed out, but the idea that we will not be leaving the European Union has been toast since the end of January. So we can park that completely. The interest now of any patriot, anybody remotely concerned about their neighbours, about their families, about their friends, about their community, about their country, the priority now is to ask why. Why? Why was he allowed to do it? And if he was really allowed to do it, why didn't they tell us that we could too? How long is it since you saw your mum? People have said goodbye to relatives via iPad because they did what Boris Johnson asked them. They acknowledged that single, simple line halfway through that letter he sent to every household in the country. That is why we are giving one simple instruction. You must stay at home. And we did. We stayed at home. I think for me, the moment my mum said, you know, son, it has occurred to me that I might not ever see you again. Now, my mum is given to a little bit of emotional exaggeration occasionally. But on that occasion, there was none of it. It was a genuine fear. And God knows, compared to so many, countless other families in the country, the inconvenience we have endured is as nothing. I've heard from people who couldn't attend funerals. I've heard from people, as I say, who were bidding farewell to relatives via their iPads. I've heard from people who haven't left their homes in weeks. And today, those people are being asked to close their eyes, put their fingers in their ears, and pretend that there was even the vaguest scintilla of truth in what Boris Johnson said on a live television broadcast to the people of the United Kingdom last night. Those people are being asked to ignore the evidence of their own eyes and ears. And at first glance, it seems to me that this time they won't. And those two words, this time, seem to me to be by far the most important. Because I don't care who you voted for in December. I don't care what you voted for in June of 2016. I really couldn't care less about the colour of the scarf that is knotted around your neck. I don't care where your political loyalties lie. I don't care which tribe you have allied yourself with over the last few years. And I don't care what you intend to do next time any questions are put to a ballot. I care only about the fact that we are currently in the midst of an absolutely unprecedented and murderous scandal. And the people in charge of it elected last night to seek to pull the wool over your eyes. Our death toll now is almost too big to contemplate. The comparisons with how other countries have coped with this crisis are a humiliation, and yet still they spin. Still they prioritise public relations over public health. And the only abiding mystery left will solve itself in the blink of an eye. Why on earth would a government that has addressed the coronavirus crisis with almost unprecedented incompetence be so desperate to retain the services of a key advisor? On any rational planet, anybody intimately involved with such a catastrophic governmental strategy would not be missed in a heartbeat. In any rational universe, they would not be sorry to see go a man widely regarded as the most powerful person in Downing Street. So why, when the UK government's response to coronavirus has been so catastrophic, the carnage in our care homes, the death toll up and down these islands, why would they be so desperate to keep a man in place who presided over it? Well, the answer is simple. Because his skill set, his gifts, his talent are for manipulating the public, for persuading them to do things that are against their own interests, to convince them to ignore the evidence of their own eyes and ears. I don't know if it will work this time, but I know that it worked last time. And I know that it worked the time before, and that's why I'm forgetting about those events. I'm forgetting about those elections. I'm forgetting about those referendums. You were given one simple instruction. Don't take my word for it. Take Boris Johnson's. That is why we are giving one simple instruction. You must stay at home. Unless you're Dominic Cummings.